Well, Gael is actually a real person that lives in this city, but I'm not going to mention her, obviously.
So the name is not real?
No, that name is changed. It's someone else that everybody knows here. But I'm not going to say who it is. But I met Gael in my high school, obviously, as it's put in the book, and met her towards the time that I'm actually going through depression and trying to commit suicide. And that was after I had attempted suicide about twice. And I was going through a trauma center because obviously right after the genocide, I was really dealing with so much sleeplessness, crying all the time, and I could not express, and I could see, I'm telling my story, but it wasn't after I became a Christian that I was able to tell my story. Before that, what I'm saying, after I've given my life to Christ, I was able to tell my story. But before that, I couldn't speak about it. Yeah. I could not even tell my uncle, whom you just saw a few hours ago, that he came to see me and raised me. But I couldn't tell him how his sister and his nephews and nieces were killed. But I met this girl, and she's singing all the time, and I'm like, this is annoying. Like, I hate Abarokore, because of Gakuba, obviously. And she, during the break, the classes, the lunch break, she just buried her head in the Bible and praying and singing. And so then I approached her and I said to her, why are you always, like this? I was this fiery girl, and I'm like, why are you always preaching everybody else that you've never, like it's actually like a fight already. I'm like, why are you preaching to everybody else and you've never preached to me? She said, I was actually planning on coming to you, but I discovered that they had already told her, don't even try getting close to Frida because she will kill you. Because there was another girl that used to come from class to class telling people about Christ. And I remember I took her Bible and threw it through the window, and I said, follow it or I throw you through the window as well. But anyways, long story short, I ended up going with her at Nkurunziza. I always refer to Nkurunziza because Nkurunziza used to be a lunch hour fellowship where all the churches used to meet and have prayers. So she took me there, and there was an evangelist preaching at that lunch hour. But it was Paul. Yes, it was Paul. I can't remember what his last name was. But anyways.
It's a real name?
It's a real name. Wow. It's not Paul Gitwaza, but it's another Paul. But I was actually, I'd been to, at the business prayers in the evening, there was full gospel. But this time was different. I had already been to those with the Gabis and so on. But this one was very different. This guy speaks as if he knows me. And I'm sitting just in the back, but he's still describing my name, my life. You've lost your family. We're talking about 4 years after the genocide. Things are still really raw for people. But he's talking like he knows me. You've lost your entire family. You have a very unforgiving heart. You are full of bitterness. He describes but God is calling you. And I'm going to tell you that God is going to use your story around the world. And I'm like, this guy, did Gael go tell this guy about me? But I know I came with Gael from school. She didn't go, she didn't know I was a survivor either. So she didn't know anything about me to have told. So I'm pretty sure this guy is speaking, God is speaking through him. So that's when I gave my life to, by the end, I was already convinced, like, this is it. I'm giving my life to Christ. I'm becoming a Moroccan. This is it. And I'm the kind of person, if I'm convinced to do something, I'm on it. There's nothing that's going to stop me. I knew my family was going to be against it, but I was wholeheartedly convinced God was calling me. And now that's the day that I remembered that voice. Right there and then, I remembered that voice. You will suffer, but you will live. That voice came back, and I know, now I know.
So it made a lot of sense.
Yes.
And also the promise you had made of becoming a nun.
And now the promise that I had made becoming a nun. Imagine if I had been a nun. Look at those beautiful boys. If I had become a nun. if I'd become a nut, there would be no these guys. But anyways, that's when I remember the prayer that I prayed. Lord, I will serve you all the days of my life if you help me out of this ditch. If you save my life, I will. Not that we should actually pray those prayers of if, but when I prayed that prayer, that day, I remember that prayer, and I'm like, this is it. This is that moment when I give my life to Christ. And that was, the rest is history.